Okay. So we're doing our post-seminar assignment number one, where we had to read two articles about the androgical approach to educators and for professional learning. And so we'll just get started with number one. What parts of the articles and the androg androgogy
Andragogy?
Andragogy.
andragogy
Yeah.
presentation? I'm trying to do pedagogy. Andragogy presentation on August 17th were worthwhile or helpful to you as an educational leader? I I want to say I don't want to veer the question off to the discussion off too far, but I found it very interesting the science of adult leaders and how they say adult learners
Hmm.
and how they say but in actual practice what I see. And so I thought it was very interesting, especially things around um how they need to do and
Mhm.
self-directed and that they like choice and things of that nature when I that's not been my experience. And so I like I said, I don't want to veer from the questions, but at the same time, I do want to, hear from other people and their experiences because that was one that really stuck out to me that I haven't found the people that I lead to be these types of learners that has been expounded upon. Even when she was talking about it on Saturday, I was like, okay,
Mhm.
so please share.
Yeah, I agree
Anybody?
with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it actually kind of gets into question three, where it says, how do teachers in your school or district respond to the PL provided? I think we tell teachers all the time not to do the sit and get. But then
Mm,
we put them in PL, what we do is sit and get because
for
it's
the
like,
most
okay,
part.
well, yeah, we got to make it interesting for the kids, but we don't have to make it interesting for the adults. And I actually had this as far as like being a leader and doing this, it's even more important. We actually just got a second dean at my school, which is what we call assistant principals, and he's been coming in and just telling teachers what to do. And although it's not like the same as specifically learning, but when you come in and you tell adults what to do, your directions have to be different than you telling a child what to
Mm-hmm.
do because they kind of need to understand the why behind
Mm-hmm.
why they're doing something. Why are you making this change? We're 3 weeks into the school year. Why am I getting a duty post that I didn't have before? Why do I have one and that teacher doesn't have one? And whereas with the child, you can just say, oh, well, because I said so. You can't really do that with adults because you have to acknowledge the fact that although your positions may be different, your age or authority, your experience even may be the same, or theirs may be higher than yours. And one thing they brought up in these articles was that you have to allow space to respect the experience and
Mm-hmm.
expertise that those adults are bringing in because you're not the sage. All of you bring things to kind of learn from one another. Another thing to add, just because we were talking about question one at first, is that the article that was talking about like the 5 principles to help design better professional development, my instructional leadership team wanted to do like a PBIS for teachers with our professional
Mm.
learning for this semester so that like teachers got points or like some type of recognition for attending a certain amount of professional development. And they listed like this bingo idea in there that I think would be really cool to actually use, where like you make a bingo board with like maybe attended a PD, led a PD, like different things like that. And whichever teachers fill it in or get whatever by the end of whatever time will end up getting a reward. So that's something I'm personally going to take back to my instructional leadership team and see if we can design one for like the first semester and then maybe a different one for the second semester. And then it gives teachers some type of incentive or motivation for them to do these things.
Mhm. I totally agree with what both of you all said, but I know in my building, it depends on the group of teachers. Some of them you can give them that autonomy to do different things, but I as a leader, I have found that a great deal of my teachers in the building, they don't follow through. Then you give them deadlines, they don't follow through. Everything is a pushback, no matter, even if the data says this is something we all need, it's a pushback because I've been teaching 25, 30 years and I've been doing it, but I'm trying to tell you the data shows that it does not work. So that's been difficult. I know I've always wanted to give them the flexibility like they talked about in these articles, offering flexibility and offering choice. But sometimes I do see where the need is. uh you want the flexibility, you want the choice, because every for me, every PL is not supposed to be cookie cutter. You don't need everything. And I think sometimes we try to give I guess, to try to maximize time, we try to give everybody the same thing, and it doesn't work out like that. And I think that's when the less attentiveness and the less buy-in, that's when that comes in. But then also I think with me and my staff, it's a lot of pushback, a lot of, you try to get them involved, but again, no one wants to be that one to step up and say, hey, I got an idea. A lot of them, but I do have a few. But for the most part, I found that everybody's kind of stuck in their ways. People have been in the building so long, and we've always done it that way, so they always want to do it that way.
What what stuck out for me when you were saying that is number 7 in the, oh gosh, the Whitby article, when they say it needs to be ongoing feedback and assessment, because
Mhm,
that's what's going to keep those deadlines, um, whether they're met or not. The feedback
mhm,
can be just based on something, whether it be observations or something that they were supposed to have done with that. But I think
mhm,
that's the key for me, in my experiences with adult learners, is making certain that there's that feedback, because they, just like everyone else, they want to know that they're what kind of job they're doing, and they'll even accept,
yeah,
constructive criticism if it's consistent. So that's what it needs to be, because if you do it one time and all you're going to tell me is how poorly I'm doing,
mhm,
they're disinterested, and it's not there's not they're not motivated to be, to continuously learn that. And so I think with that, just making certain that you provide that feedback and
yeah,
assessment, that and you could probably see a difference.
mhm,
I think what's interesting to me is that, I feel like most PDs I've been, even when I was teaching, when I was a part of it, even some that I've delivered, I'm guilty of just giving. Um,
mhm,
but what's interesting to me is when I go back and think about, y'all are talking about the players in your building. Some people will thrive in that, like giving them that flexibility. And I respect your knowledge and expertise. You're a professional. I'm going to treat you that way, and they'll take it and they'll run with it. And then you got the other group that was mentioned, that it's like when you give them that flexibility, they take advantage of it, and then
yeah,
it's like pulling teeth to get stuff done.
mhm,
But then there's also that third group in my building, at least, that, and it's a pretty good portion of teachers, that they want to be told what to do, and they would
mhm,
rather sit and get, as opposed to, and they're more effective in that. Like the PD is more effective for them. So like going back to like that whole cookie cutter thing that one of y'all mentioned, I think, um, as a teacher, like we want to, I tell my teachers all the time, like you can't just stand up and talk all the time. You can't do that. That's not,
mhm,
but there are times for that. Like I call that old school. Like when I was taught, that's how I got it, and I turned out okay. Like there's times to do that, but, what I thought was super interesting was, like which it's not super interesting, but I guess I just don't think about it when I think about PD. In the Whitby article, there was that focus on, it talks about those, we do PD through that pedagogical lens, saying here's how you teach kids better, here's how you do stuff in your room, do this, do that. Um, but that all you have to do to shift it to that andragogical, if I'm saying that right, gogical, um, is just doing. Your adults are going to learn better when it's relevant to their real challenges, their time. How's it going to impact their day, and how can they immediately apply it to their day? And those are really simple things to put into place. But just something that I don't think about, I guess, because I'm so used to PD being, here's this information, data says this, here you go. And you just take it and run with it. But that's what I thought, to me, like, kind of stuck out. I'd never heard of andragogy before this week.
I think we've kind
Yeah.
of heard of it, but not with this word.
The word, right?
Because like I think in a lot of these West Georgia classes, they talk about like the PLC process and teaching teachers and how you're supposed to do that effectively, which is why when we had this discussion, I almost was like, oh, we're talking about this again. But it's a different word that they're using. And I think that's interesting because I wonder how our teachers would feel if we asked them which one they think they would prefer. Like when we used to do a learning style assessment with kids, I wonder what teachers would say. If y'all are cool, we can move into question 2, which is
Yeah,
asking
because
how effective.
because I was going to just say we're pretty much touching all of them.
All of them at
But
the same time.
if we're wanting to
Yeah.
talk about how effective professional learning that's provided
Mhm.
by your school or your district and what makes it effective and or ineffective.
Yes, so I can go first. Specifically regarding my school, I'm actually kind of proud of a PD I did earlier this year, like during our pre-planning with our new teachers, because I feel like I engaged people. I wasn't actually trying to, I just hate being bored. And when I was in my classroom, if the kids look bored, I'm bored, and then we're bored, and I'm not having a good day. So I intentionally forced them to do activities to illustrate what I was saying, because the whole purpose, our whole thing for this year is like every student, every classroom, every day, and you're supposed to have engagement. So if I want you to do engagement, I have to show you kind of what that looks like. So it was a modeling thing. And like we started with this Lego activity. I gave them lesson plans that were boring and made them like reach under their chair and pull out random student interests. And they had to like design a new lesson based on that same standard that connected to whatever that student interest was. And then they had to get up in front of the class and perform it for everybody. So they were engaged in actually doing the work instead of hearing me talk about the work. And then when I asked them about it at the end, they were able to more like specifically say, because we went over intervention strategies and like small groups with kids. They had like a sample set of kids, like the stuff you're supposed to do anyway. But they were able to say, okay, well, I need more help with engagement. I need more help with intervention. I need more help with blah, blah, blah. Because since they had kind of practiced it, they were more able to articulate which thing they felt they needed more support with. So I feel like that was really effective as far as like the modeling and the receiving feedback from them. However, I feel like the problem is that's kind of isolated. It only happened with our new teachers. It did not happen with our returning teachers. And so then you have that cultural moment because we have like maybe a 50% turnover every year. But you have that cultural moment where half of your staff are on this, but the other half are on that. And so how do you create school-wide initiatives if you only have half of the people kind of following this pathway? So that's what I would want to improve on. And our district actually does a really good job with PD. I actually enjoy going to our district PDs because they are very engaging. They usually bring in multiple people and they always have a deliverable, which I like to leave meetings with something in hand so that I can take it back with me.
One of the things I found effective, about our district PD is that self-directed piece because we have a vast database of different trainings that you can go to, you can do online. And so I find that very helpful, especially as a leader, when you find a teacher who's having problem with time management. You can literally search the oh God, well, I can't even think of what the site is called now. Go to the site, pick up a few, and then instead of just always giving them YouTube videos that aren't necessarily, guided toward andragogical perspectives, these are definitely for educators. And so it's very specific, and they deal with issues and concerns that they have. And so I found those to be very helpful and effective in the support that we give to our teachers. And for me, like sometimes I'll just pick up a lesson here or there, and it's self-paced. And so they can fit it in when they have time and things like that. So I find that very effective with our as far as our district is concerned.
I'll go next. So, and mine'll be quick, but I think one of the things we did this year, which has been I mean, we're super fresh this year, but one of the things we did was at the beginning of the year we have a pretty good we're adding a grade each year. So we do end up, we have teachers who leave, and then we have to hire for new spaces in high school. So we we hired about 23 new teachers this year, which is a pretty good number. But one of the things we did was during pre-planning, we put out we let teachers create like an FAQ thing, and we went back as a leadership team and went and sorted the stuff that would apply to potential PD opportunities. And we kind of made themes for those. And we have teacher leaders in our building they're real techie, and they do a really good webinar. And we allow those teachers to make these webinars, and they push them out every week. And they're not required to be seen, but they're more of like a flexible PD opportunity for anybody. You can watch it on your own time. You can visit it at any time. And I used one today because I was looking at a program that we have, and I wanted to get an answer to how can I do this? And instead of having to watch the whole video, on the side, it's got like the transcript, and I could search the transcript and find what I found, and I got my answer in 2 minutes, and I was on about my day. So, that's been something that's really been effective, and there's been a lot of feedback, and those teachers are willing to do it, and to make a 20-minute webinar over something that they're an expert at is just really simple. But I think that's the thing most effective about us is we've tried to be intentional about, yes, there are those required PDs that we want everybody to sit in, or every math teacher to get this, but we also place a big focus on what our teachers are communicating to us and trying to build those PD opportunities around that feedback that we get. And what is ineffective, I'll say, is that there is that, like what we just spoke about a minute ago, the pedagogical approach to delivering it. There's still a presence of that, and I think that's something that needs to shift. But I think, as we're moving into this little webinar model that we're doing, it is directed to the adult. This is for the adult to do, and it's been really effective so far. So
I think in my building, we've come a long way from where we were. It was a lot of sitting, reading, just delivering the information, and then when you go and you inspect what you expect, it's not what you expect because you just had a PD and you just told them about all these amazing things. But one thing we used to leave out, because we just took it for granted, because these are educators, they know what you're saying, they understand what you're saying. We came to realize that a lot of people are visual, hands-on learners, and that's what these adults mostly were. And then once we started showing them and modeling for them in the PDs, and then allowing them to come back and show us, okay, show us what it is that we did, so we'll know that you understand. Now when you go into the classrooms, it's more of what you expect, as opposed to before it wasn't. It's like, I know you understood what I said. I just don't think you're really trying to do this. But then, no, I don't think it was a pushback. I think it was actually that they did not truly understand. And a lot of people won't just raise their hand and say, I don't understand, because they don't want to be that person. They want to, they just, even when you do the surveys after the PD, the data comes back. You think that you've made a safe space for them to be honest, but then we had to reflect on that as well. So it was a lot of reflection on our PDs, and I think that we're turning the corner with that.
So then how do you think, you have surveys, so how are teachers in your school or your district responding to the PO that's provided? I heard you, Matt, say that,
Yes.
yours are doing well, you're getting better, better results in the classroom. Kirian, you're saying that, your 50% of your teachers at least responded well to that PD you had. So like, is there anything anyone else wants to add in reference to that?
I do. I think, and then this is fast, but I think with those virtual things, you can pick and do if you want to. So that we don't necessarily monitor that, but with those that we require them to sit in, I think they respond to it as well as they can, based on how relevant it is to them, or how they perceive it as relevant. And that's always the case. And I don't know necessarily how that changes, but it's either good or it's not good. I don't feel like there's really any in between.
So with that said, you guys, how do we oh God, I lost it. Teachers in response to me. How do we then serve though? Because some of the PL has to serve our SIP,
Mhm.
either our school improvement plan or your continuous improvement plan. So how is it that how can we, make it effective for teachers, but still meet that criteria that, because somebody is watching us or expecting us, they're expecting what they expect. And so they're expecting us to carry plans of our SIP.
Yeah, I think it's all about intentionality. If you know that in your SIP or your CSIP, whichever one you want to call it, that you have these specific goals, you make sure that the PD for those specific goals is what's being offered. And then you're intentional about how you present that information to those teachers. So if I know we're trying to have 8% gains in mathematics, then I'm looking at what's happening in my math department. I'm making sure the PD is aligned to the goals that we have or the changes that we need to make. And then I'm monitoring and assessing if they're applying that and if they need coaching or anything related to those things so that they're implementing it. I don't think it's necessarily difficult. I think it just requires you to do more on the front end rather than you giving it to them and then just hoping that you can fix it if you mess it up on the front end. The same way when you're teaching kids, you're intentional about how you give them their information as well and how you scaffold it. You have to do the same thing for teachers.
I think that
Yeah.
when I was a teacher, I felt like when I was going to sit in a PD, it was just something I was told I had to be here at this time and sit in and be a part of it. And looking back as a professional, which is kind of one of the themes of those articles, is like being treated professionally is to know that I'm doing something that is required for my school. Yeah, it may be a hoop that we have to jump through, but as a professional, if you tell me that I need 8% gains, carry on or whatever, one of those articles also talks about if it's intrinsically motivating to a teacher, and good teachers to me, when I hear my leadership team tell me I need 8% gains, that's intrinsically motivating to me. I'm gonna do what I can do to get that number to 8% for our school. And I think most teachers fall in that bucket of wanting to be able to meet whatever goal there is. But I think just clarity, like saying, look, our school improvement plan. A lot of teachers don't know what's on it. So
Mm.
like treat them as a professional, tell them what's there. And if they're there for the right reasons, they'll do it. It's just that simple.
Tell them why. Tell them why they're
Yeah.
doing this. Not
Yeah.
you're doing it because I
Yeah.
told you, but we're
Mhm.
doing this because
It's
this
not
is what we
punishment.
have and
Yeah.
this is what we're trying to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I know anyone in my building that just don't want to help
Hmm.
grow these kids and then achieve that 8% that you were talking about. I don't think, but like you say, once you tell them the why behind it, they tend to be more,
Hmm.
they try harder. Yeah, they
And
really
it's not
do.
about you, it's about the
Yeah,
kids.
exactly.
And it doesn't hurt to remind people of that either. And
You have to.
I have to recalibrate
Mhm.
myself sometimes, but like there's a lot of times where teachers, we're selfish people, we're all human. But if you're not doing what's right by the kid, then,
It's, the numbers don't lie. It's
Yeah.
about the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you all basically answered number 4. How effectively do teachers in your school or district apply the PL they
Hmm.
receive if it pertains to them, if they feel that it applies to their daily work, that they're more apt to do it. So we're on our last question. How can we use this information on andragogy for our PLC, our ILA PLC groups? And then as your role as an educational leader, what are you taking from this that you think you want to use?
I think it's just being, somebody just said about intentionality, like just being intentional about understanding that I'm doing this ILA PLC assignment. It's with adults, but it's for kids. Let me remind the adults that it's for the kids, but treat them like adults when I'm going through that process with them, and respect their expertise and their knowledge level, and give them some flexibility within the
Mhm.
process as well to make it enjoyable for them and not feel like they're having to just do something for a reason that's unknown to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
was
the
thinking
one
about the same thing.
Go ahead.
Matt, just the flexibility and the choice. giving them that, because because I know that's something I have to work on for myself as well, being more flexible and then offering the choice. I think once we do that, people they'll rise to the occasion. So I just think I just need to offer more of that.
I reflected upon my classes that I've been in. I'm in my last semester this semester for this specialist degree, but I realized that my summer courses were seemed to very much align to this. There's a lot of problem focused. We did a lot of problem focused assignments, which actually I saw myself having to one day achieve, try to solve these problems in a real setting, in principal setting. And so it made me literally truly dive in and truly try to apply the concepts and principles that were being taught. And so, and it actually helped, honestly, bring something. I think Dr. Davis has the, shifting from theory to practice. It really does kind of help for the theories to actually come into play and come to life for you, to where I found myself sharing that stuff with my colleagues and saying this and saying how we're doing it. So I'm excited about just being able to apply concepts that it's more than just about the degree. It's actually truly gaining more expertise when you find yourself in situations that you're like, what am I going to do? You can really pull on them, and it helps to have some muscle memory. And so I've really with that being so effective for me as a learner, that's what I'm going to take into my PLs in my ILA. I'm going to try and make these be very intentional about making them problem focused, so that, excuse me, they are building muscle memory for issues and concerns that they may face in their day-to-day work.
That's the
And I
exciting
guess
part. Oh, I'm sorry, Carrie. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna go ahead and say mine really quickly. I already mentioned the bingo thing that I want to bring in that I'm gonna do with my instructional leadership team. But I think what at least my school needs to work on more is that ongoing feedback and assessment, is making sure that we're regularly monitoring these things that we ask them to do, because when all the other things start happening, it's very easy to lose track of the things that you're trying to take track of, and then making sure that they're actually doing it. So that's what I will be taking back with me, is that ongoing feedback and assessment, and involving my instructional leadership team and having some of those teacher leaders go out and be the ones giving that feedback, so that some of it is almost peer to peer versus it always coming top down. It can also move horizontally. But I also agree with what you were saying about like West Georgia and the problem focused classes. I actually love that about this. I know they haven't got an award yet. I think they should get an award, because I feel like our assignments are very well tailored to what we actually experience day to day. They've been useful to what's actually happening in the classroom. So shameless plug for UWG, that they're doing a good job.
That's what I was gonna say too, Carrie on, is like it's really exciting when it's something you've learned, it comes in front of you, and then you can actually know how to handle the situation. We're all learners, so like it's exciting as a learner to be able to apply what you've learned and it's for teachers it's the same thing. If you give them something in a PD that they're going to be confronted with or see, then that in itself is motivating and rewarding, and so I enjoy that part of the process at
Me
least.
too. I made my principal do a reframing exercise the other day. I was like, is this political? Is this a human resources problem?
There you go.
So yeah,
I'm in that class right now.
that's my favorite class I think I've taken in the specialist program. Favorite class. Favorite class. Who's your professor?
I have Watts.
Ah, I think I had somebody who
Well,
just stopped in.
you what?
I had someone who just stopped in for the summer. I don't think they're still with us, but I just took that one this summer. Who else is in their last semester? Because I know you're last semester. I'm last semester. Praise God.
I'm
Me
done
too.
too.
Me too.
Oh,
Y'all have one?
yay! Oh, well,
Team.
yeah, it is 03. I guess it's 03.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and stop the
Yes.
recording. Let's go ahead and stop it.